to join. So if we can give a couple of minutes more.
Okay, I'll probably play the next one. In the meanwhile, while we're waiting.
Businesses rely on e-procurement applications to manage spend, suppliers, and catalogs. Even though most large companies have dozens or hundreds of catalogs, many are still incomplete, obsolete, or don't offer the best prices. It can be very difficult and expensive to build and maintain B2B catalogs. And for employees, it can be very frustrating to search company catalogs and not find what you're looking for. Marketplaces are a disruptive force in B2B buying and selling. Procurement organizations must establish policies to manage use of marketplaces to ensure compliance with existing processes. When done properly, this will complement and reduce the cost of existing catalog programs. SAP Ariba Spot Buy makes it easy for your employees to find what they need from an on-demand catalog containing millions of live listings across business categories. Convenient search and filters help users find and buy approved items with competitive price and delivery options. This innovative approach to buying goods from an on-demand catalog is achieved with only a single Spot Buy vendor in your vendor master file. With SAP Ariba Spot Buy, companies now have the items they need to run their business while reducing vendor and catalog management costs. Guided buying capabilities, along with Spot Buy from SAP Ariba, provides professional buyers a powerful tool to meet quality, time, and price requirements in today's fast-paced business environment. For example, Spot Buy Item Compare helps ensure that buyers always get the best price and delivery options available. By improving spend visibility and control of non-sourced purchases, businesses can now respond to and predictably fulfill buying demand while improving user convenience, adoption, and satisfaction. Administrative tools make it easy to set approved commodities, price thresholds, and even select which vendors to include to customize their market.
I think I got some technical problem with this.
Imagine business commerce in a world without.
So I think, Amit, we can start with our today's webinar.
Sure.
Right. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aishwarya. I'll be your host for today. I would like to thank everyone for your time and joining us. So a quick introduction about myself. I manage sales and marketing for AmDhan Consulting Solution, and I look after India region. As you all know, today's webinar topic is enabling digital collaboration with your trading partner through SAP Supplier Portal. So basically in this webinar, we will give you an overview of how SAP DSN, that is Digital Supplier Network, can enable businesses in India to comply with the new invoicing mandate. So before we go ahead, I would just like a little housekeeping. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to type in the chat box in your Zoom panel. Our speaker will take up those questions during the question and answer session towards the end of this webinar. Just to inform you, we would be also running some poll questions in between to make this webinar more interactive and fun. So you would be approximately given 30 to 45 seconds to answer the poll questions. And we would really request you to answer this question. This will help us to improve our product and understand customer pain point. Also, this webinar session has been recorded for our marketing and survey purpose. The recording link will be shared with all the attendees after the webinar. So I think with this, we'll quickly have a look over our today's webinar agenda. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we will start with the introduction to our webinar speaker. It will be presented by me. Next, we will know what SAP DSN is and its value proposition. It will be followed by a small product demo. Next, we will quickly get to know about AmDhan, introduction to AmDhan and its service offerings. We will also cover the deployment of DSN, what is involved, how it is, and how we can do it. Towards the end, we will open the session for panel discussion, wherein we will pick up your question and try to provide answers to all. Can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. So with this, I would like to introduce you to our speaker. Starting with Amit Patil, he is a solution architect. He works with AmDhan Consulting with over 18 years of consulting experience across multiple industries. So he also leads solution and technology architecture practice in AmDhan UK and India. The next speaker we have is Travis Mitro. He is from SAP. He is Director Center of Excellence, Intelligence Spend Management. He is experienced in global business practice for working capital optimization, which includes supply chain finance, dynamic discounting, payment term rationalization, payment method optimization, and more. The next speaker which we have is again from SAP, Prem Tracks. He is responsible for expanding the offering of SAP Ariba products to the market. He usually take cares after the Asia Pacific region. So he is the partner ecosystem in Asia Pacific region. And the next speaker with us, we have Rajib Kumar Jena. He leads Ariba practice in AmDhan with over 3.5 decades of experience in aerospace and automotive industry. It excites me to tell you that he led the entire process of supply chain automation in Bajaj Auto, connecting the suppliers to the Auto SAP system. So, without further ado, I would request Travis to present his slide and take over. Thank you all. Over to you, Travis.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction here. And to kind of kick things off here today, I wanted to start with a brief story. The brief story is about this picture that you're about to see on the screen if you click next. It was about a year ago this time last year in 2020, I was in Mumbai and I was speaking at the Global Trade Review on how do we integrate financial processes with things like digitization of procurement. How do we go ahead and collaborate with our supply chains better so that we can start to be able to pull together the procurement processes and be able to integrate that into financing? And after I went through this whole entire program, these are the questions I started to get. Hey, Travis, this is really cool, but what about blockchain? And what about things like AI and ML? And can we use something like RPA to be able to work with these types of solutions? And my response back to these guys was, this is actually something that's really cool to be thinking about. But if you see on the next slide, how are we actually working with our suppliers today? And how are we collaborating with them on an innovative, automated fashion? And most of the folks in the room, they said, we're not picking up what you're putting down. And my response is, when we're dealing with suppliers, specifically when we're dealing with suppliers in India, we're talking about 44 million companies in India are SMEs. We're talking about the suppliers working with us as buying organizations and still transacting in a completely paper fashion. And whenever we're doing this, we can't do things like blockchain. We can't utilize AI and ML. We need to be able to start to go down the journey to be able to transition our accounts payable departments and be able to transition our procurement systems to be able to become smart. And that's where on the next slide, you're going to see that the journey that we want to help to start to be able to establish is the journey to smart invoicing. And this journey can be multiple different pillars. You can be in multiple pillars at the same time. But effectively, what we want to be able to do is start to be able to look at these paper-based transactions that we're working with our suppliers today and be able to get to a point where we don't have to touch the transactions. We can be able to go pillar by pillar, looking at things like OCR and invoice conversions to be able to still utilize image-based enabling so that we can go ahead and still have some of our smaller suppliers still be able to transact the way that they're used to, but we can automate and digitize those invoices. We can look at things like e-invoicing, so utilizing platforms like the SAP Ariba network to be able to submit invoices directly off of purchase orders, and eventually getting to smart invoices by integrating business rules throughout this whole entire process. When you look at best in class today on the SAP Ariba network, we're talking about 90% of all invoices becoming touchless. We're talking about being able to submit and approve invoices in 1.2 days. We're able to go ahead and utilize FTEs. So they were before only able to process 10,000 invoices a year, now processing upwards of 40,000 invoices per year. And what this is ultimately going to do is going to drive down our costs, but it's going to do more than just that. So if we go to the next slide, we can start to think about what are we solving for in this whole entire transition. If we think about today's process is, if you give me one click here, we think about it's error prone. We're thinking that it's slow. It's ultimately leading to higher cost and poorer data. If we think about the challenges that we're seeing today within our supply chains, especially we talk about the automotive, which Rajib is going to give us an awesome overview in a little bit, is the lack of synergy. All of this is creating for a less cohesive relationship that we have with our suppliers. Why would you go ahead and run an intelligent enterprise, but still be doing it from a manual basis? So if you go ahead and click through with me here, is we want to go ahead to start to take it to the next step. And if you go to the next slide here, we're going to go ahead and be able to start looking at it from taking those errors and turning them into accuracies, taking these slow processes and being able to make them fast. That 1 day invoice approval time. Think about what that could mean for your company. Not only is it going to drive down the cost and enrich the data, but we can start thinking about those questions that were being asked of me at the Global Trade Review Conference last year. Is if I have richer data, I can doing things like blockchain. I can do things like ML. I can start training my algorithms so that I can run a more innovative and fast business. And we know this because of what we're doing on the Ariba network today. So if you give me one click, you're going to go ahead and see that we today have over 5.6 million companies sitting on the SAP Ariba network. We have $3.2 trillion worth of commerce going through this platform as well. That's the GDP of India. It's the size of Alibaba, Amazon. Take all of this data, we're able to take all of these insights, and we're able to then work more collaboratively with our supply chains. Think about what that could do for you all. If we go to the next slide, this is where we want to go ahead and start thinking about this journey. So I showed you the graph of how it actually starts to drive down costs. But effectively, what we want to be able to do is start pushing over time, getting to a point that we can replace paper with electronic versions. Now, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. If we see on the next slide, that's because not all of your suppliers are the same. And that's one of the other challenges that we need to go ahead and to address. As we're having all these OEMs that are having different ways and different standards of submitting of invoices that are being provided over to us, we want to go ahead and ensure that we can have consistency coming into our back end to make our processes more easily done. So what we're able to do is take all these different invoice channels, whether it's directly through the network, whether we have integrated suppliers through EDI, whether we're uploading invoices via CSV files, whether they're coming in through paper and we're able to scan them over into digital copies. We want to go ahead and be able to provide a solution that's available to all suppliers, but providing consistency back in our ERP. If we go to the next slide, this is where we want to go ahead and start thinking about how does this fit within the context of the current processes and the current e-invoicing mandates that we have in India as well. What we actually are going to do is start looking at how do we integrate that process directly into our procure to pay solution. And we talk about procure to pay because this is really important. And in the introduction, you know, I was referred to as working capital and payment optimization. This is something near and dear to my heart. We never want to stop at the okay to pay or the submission of invoice. That's procure to pay, and that's no fun. We want to go all the way to payment. So that's where we want to have this solution in place that we can be able to take our suppliers, be able to collaborate with them digitally through their purchase order. Look at things like the advanced ship notices. Look at things like the order confirmations. Be able to tie the e-invoices to that, and then ultimately to what we're doing with the IRP. Now, I recognize on this screen here that we have the IRP at the invoice creation period and the integration between those two systems. Understanding that certain different types of industries and different crossing of states, we need to maybe have this process at a different part before the ASN, before the order confirmation. We can be flexible with that. This is just a depiction of how it could look for you. But ultimately, the important part is that direct integration over to the IRP. This integration is native to the SAP Ariba network, so no work has to be done for it. We actually have a brilliant webinar that was recorded recently that Prem was involved in, that he's also doing the demo for us later. It's up on YouTube that it's explaining completely in depth of exactly how this integration works. It's an hour and a half long, so it's not too bad, but it's going to give you all that detail that you need to know about the in-depth solution that is our connection to the IRP. Now, if you go to the next slide, we think about this whole entire process, and we think about this end process. There are a ton of documents that are in between this. It's not just your purchase order. It's not just the invoice. We want to be able to ensure that we have all of the documents are associated with our transactions and within our relationship with our suppliers, because ultimately, this is what's going to be able to derive deeper data, to be able to drive deeper collaboration, ensure that there's accuracy in everything that we're doing. We're not duplicating invoices. We're not duplicating payments. We're not going through invalid or fraudulent transactions. Everything's going to be tied to each other, which is ultimately going to make this much more of a success. If we think about success, we think about customers that are already doing this today. We have customers within India that are integrating to the IRP, that are utilizing the Digital Supplier Network. Companies like Sudarshan Chemical, Azure Power. We're thinking about Ola Electric. These are guys that are utilizing these solutions today, and they're seeing that optimization. Azure Power alone, just by implementing this solution, freed up 4% of free cash flow. If you talk to any CFO, you talk to anybody in finance or treasury, and you say, hey, I can impact free cash flow by 4%, they're going to say, tell me more. So let's see how we can go ahead and use these solutions to impact things like that. You go on to the next slide. Oop. Transparency. Yes, exactly what we're going for. But onto the next slide here, we can start to think about all of these different business rules that are in place that are getting to the point that we're able to free up 4% of cash flow is all driven by smart decisions. Remember that smart invoicing that we had before? It's powered by over 200 business rules that are on the Ariba network. So again, that transparency, that lack of fraudulent transactions coming across, it's powered by the things that we can put in place prior to the transaction ever happening. Suppliers can't go in and start backdating invoices. They can't submit the same invoice number more than once. We're having things that are tax compliance or different thresholds or tolerances to the different price units that we're putting in place on the invoices. We're ensuring that all this is in place so by the time invoices get to you, you don't have to do anything. And ultimately, that is what we're trying to get to. And that is what's ultimately going to lead to what's on the next slide. It's the tangible results that are going to drive businesses better. I talked about the 4% cash flow improvement for Azure Power, but we're also talking about being able to improve our operating costs. We're thinking about things of how do we get faster transaction cycles, which ultimately is going to lead to better cash conversion cycles. If we're able to go ahead and more smartly pay our suppliers, to be able to work with our customers as well better, to be able to lower our days sales outstanding, ultimately start thinking about this from an inventory perspective, we can go ahead and start to be able to improve the whole entire cash conversion cycle. And lastly, it's going to make us more efficient. I talked about how working with our suppliers, becoming more efficient, ultimately drives better innovation. I believe Toyota said it best, and Rajib, you can back me up on this quote. I may mangle it a little bit, but Toyota said that their innovation is driven by having innovative suppliers. That's where we want to be able to get to. We want to have our suppliers working to better our companies, as opposed to working on manual processes, just trying to go ahead and do their day-to-day business. So with that, that's our overview of what we're trying to accomplish here with the Digital Supplier Network. Prem's going to go ahead and give you a nice little demo here. I'll be back with you guys a little bit later on to do a quick panel session, as well as answer any outstanding questions. But I appreciate the time here today. Unfortunately, not in person, but hopefully one day soon. So with that, Prem, I will go ahead and kick it over to the next person.
Thank you, Travis, for such an insightful and informative discussion and session. Before Prem starting with his demo presentation, we would like to run a quick poll question for all the audience over here. So can we have our first poll question here? Yeah, here it goes. As you all can see on your Zoom panel, the first poll question that is, what are the pain areas in procurement supply chain function? So as per your understanding and as per your experience, I would request all the attendees to submit their their answers to us so that it can help us. So some might think that no end-to-end process is there. Some might think that manual paper process is a pain area. So based on your challenges which you are facing, I request you all to submit your answers to us. We would be also displaying the results at the end of this poll, and then a quick analysis would be done, and it can be discussed in the panel discussion round. I'll give a couple of more seconds to all the attendees so that they can submit their result. I request all to participate in this poll question and submit their answers to us.
Are we getting a few more answers?
Yes, we are getting. We'll just wait for 10 seconds more and then we'll end the poll.
Not surprised to see manual paper processes as the #1 vote getter here. No shocks here.
Great. I think we have the maximum of answers with us. Oh, great. The maximum of them are saying manual paperwork. We have 48% of it. Thank you all for taking time for this poll question. We would be having a quick discussion about this in our panel session. Thank you, Travis. And I request Prem to start with the demo presentation. Over to you, Prem.
Hello, everyone. Today, I will show you how your company can extend your SAP system with Digital Supplier Network solution. So what you see in front of you right now is the initial dashboard screen that your supplier will use on a daily basis. The solution allows supplier to collaborate with your SAP system via mobile device or a browser on supplier's laptop. Nowadays, industry standard is to have supplier collaboration that is seamless and instant. And is there anything more widespread and convenient to use in India these days than a smartphone? That is why SAP is providing mobile application to all your suppliers entirely for free. As you can see, I am just running an app on my iPad right now. And in fact, all your supplier will need to have is an account and a smartphone. Any smartphone with iOS, so iPhones, or any smartphone with Android system will do. Everything I'm showing to you today is available to unlimited number of your suppliers without any extra cost. All right, so the dashboard is always the first screen supplier will see. Tiles that you can see here on the top sort documents based on their statuses for supplier. So supplier basically can manage ties via carousel, or if I flip the view, or through a grid, or via a grid. So any purchase order that is sent from your SAP system lands in these tiles, and a supplier can simply access it using his phone. Let me show you how simple it is for a supplier to make a PO confirmation. As a supplier, I will have to just tap on the new orders tile, and I can browse through different purchase orders with different status, you can see. So I have one purchase order here, and I selected the one that is ending with 379. And I can drill down to the details of this order on the right-hand side. So I see that it's only one line item with a quantity 3. I see it's a material, it can be a service. I see what's the status of it, what actually is being ordered, by when this is needed, what is the quantity, where is this supposed to be shipped to. And as a supplier, I can very easily just confirm the order. So I need to just tap on this icon over here and select confirm entire order and just type in the order ID, confirmation, estimated shipping date. So by when I'm expecting this to be shipped to my buyer, to the SAP customer, and when it is supposed to be delivered. And I just tap submit, and this information, this message goes back to SAP. Another interesting thing, or very usual thing that a supplier in India especially would do, would be advanced ship notice. So I send the order confirmation, but I would like to send advanced ship notice right now. So from my mobile app, whether this is the iPhone or this is an iPad, or if I'm using a browser, the experience is exactly the same. I just select read advanced ship notice, and in here I just need to input some information. So what's the packing slip ID, when I'm actually shipping this, so it's 15th of April, when I'm expecting this to be delivered. I can actually, as a supplier, also include the tracking number. This would all be visible in SAP to the requester, to the person that created purchase order. If I want to, I can include additional attachments, paperwork, custom clearance, material or delivery notes over here. So I'm very quickly gonna select anything and add this attachment here. And as a supplier, I can also see what are the line items. So on the line item, I can actually see what's the quantity, and if I want, I can include the batch ID of the product that I'm shipping, production date, expiration date. This all can be done mandatory to the suppliers, so they're forced to do it, or it can be just optional. So one supplier will populate all or input all the mandatory information, supplier just selects next. On the next screen, supplier just gets a summary of of what was submitted, of what was actually inputted, and supplier just clicks on or taps on the submit button, and the advanced trip notice is actually sent to SAP. And this creates an inbound deliver document and SAP seamlessly based on the advanced trip information. So let me go back to the supplier dashboard. So another very interesting thing that I wanted to show you today is related to how supplier would see spot change orders. So you can see here on there's a red digit here, 6, the orders that require attention. So I'm going to simply just tap on it. And as a supplier, when I'm going here, I will be able to see change orders that were sent originally to me, and then someone on the SAP side made a change order. And if supplier would like to actually see what are the changes that happened to this purchase order, what was there before, what is there now, supplier just goes to see the web version of the purchase order. And once here, we can see that purchase order has a status changed. We can click on the previous version to see what was there before if we want to. But we can explore further, and we can see that on the line item, there was a change. So I expand the view of the supplier, take a look. So I see that the delivery dates have changed in the schedule lines. This is the previous scheduled delivery date, and that's the current one. And we can see also the division per quantity here on the right-hand side. So supplier clearly can identify what was there before the change order took place and what is the current position. The last thing that I wanted to show you today is related to invoicing. So if supplier would be submitting invoices to you as well using the portal, there are different, depending on what is the current status of the invoice, suppliers being notified. There are invoices that are pending approval, but I wanted to show you how invoices that are rejected look like for a supplier. So suppliers send you an invoice, and you in SAP for some reason decided to reject it. So not only supplier is getting notified about this, but supplier also is able to see rejection reasons, why the invoice is rejected, why it's not going to be paid. So this information is available on the smartphone to the supplier. All right, so this is all I wanted to show you today. For a longer demonstration or a more detailed discussion or end-to-end process around your requirements and business process, you can ask SAP deployment partner, AmDhan. They will organize a meeting to discuss your particular business processes, show you more products, and with SAP, they will help you explain how Digital Supplier Network can help your business with seamless supplier collaboration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prem. Thank you for the demo. So the next slide will be presented by Amit Patil, a quick overview on AmDhan, our solution offerings. Over to you, Amit.
Thanks, Aishwarya. Well, great insight by Prem and Travis. Thank you both. And thanks all for joining us today. Really appreciate your time. I would quickly introduce ourselves as AmDhan consulting partner for SAP, who we are, what we do, and what services we offer. Before we sort of get to the next stage of this webinar, which is a panel discussion and Q&A session that we have. So to begin with, we started in 2011 in the UK and then expanded in various different parts of the world, as shown here. We have our center of excellence in India. Our brain, our think tank is in India. All our workforce is based, almost all of our workforce is based in India, and we are serving a lot of Indian customers. And our differentiator is our consultants are, they're just not the technical consultant, they are domain plus technology certified consultants. So we are very proud of that. And we are serving various customers across multiple industries like utilities, manufacturing, automotive, aerospace, and a host of other industries. These are just a few to name. And we are very proud with our relationship with SAP, and we are working in India as the value-added resellers for SAP product licenses, as well as the build partners. I'm going to talk a lot about the build partnership with SAP later, but yeah, just to kind of give a flavor of it to begin with, this kind of partnership we have with SAP. Some of customers in India who have recently trusted us with their SAP technology consulting work. We have recently been doing some work across multiple things. Some of the revamped digital transformation projects, some of the Ariba implementation projects, some of the support projects and model implementations, ACC enhancements, support grades. A lot of work has been happening in India. And it's an exciting time to talk about DSN with SAP today and bring that value to you that DSN platform offers. So we'll sort of move quickly into our key services. So as AmDhan, our service offerings are based on these service pillars, delivery pillars. We essentially are different, like classify our services into these four pillars. One is implementation and support services, where we speak about implementation of mostly on-prem applications. Then we have the cloud computing service, which is about our SaaS products, our platform as a service, and the cloud development related work. Product development services is basically as a consulting partner with a multiple industry experience. We have identified certain edge cases that we have built on some products for which complements SAP platform and SAP platform products. I'll speak about those. And finally, the business and data analytics. Those are the services which I'll quickly talk about in my next few slides. So these are the key four areas where we offer services. Our ERP, SAP ERP service essentially is about 360 implementation of SAP ERP products. Mostly in this area, we are focusing on S4 on-prem, ECC to S4 migration, business by design implementation. We also undertake services such as SAP audit, health checks, and then articulating the roadmap for moving from ECC to S4 or your non-SAP system to S4. So the reason I call this a 360-degree services because we provide almost every aspect of implementation service to the customers, whether it's at the core of it is the technical consulting and the domain expertise. That's just given. But in addition to that, the key factor which I've seen with my experience in working in Europe and India, I think the business change management is always is considered as by default not as much as focus. But we think we differentiate ourselves with that. We have a key focus of business change management, training, needs analysis on day one when we start talking about an ERP and implementation. And our key focus is also kind of bringing value with the Fiori as a user experience. So the key, apart from many other things, S4 offers in this space is the user interface. That just sets it apart from other competition or even the previous traditional SAP products. And I've seen a lot of customers in India and UK as well have not really leveraged on the Fiori, power of Fiori and the experience that it can offer to the business end user. So we have that Fiori sort of focus, and if any one of you is interested in knowing more about any of this part, about how do we get the Fiori enabled quickly, how do we get brownfield implementation upgrade of your ACC to S4 or greenfield implementation, more than happy to jump on the call and provide some more insights about our experience and product details. Apart from that, our support services, so as I had mentioned in my previous slide, we are currently supporting more than 15,000 business users who are using SAP applications of different different versions, different deployment types, cloud and on-prem. And we are very proud that we are ISO 27000 security ISO certification enabled company. We have GDPR compliance enforced in our processes. We take data security in terms of support services very seriously. Um, our aim here is not to just focus on providing ticket-based SLA-based services. That's just given, but we are trying to sort of provide a bit more value addition. So just not being a support partner, but trying to improvise that process, trying to improvise the systems, solutions, processes is what our key focus in support areas as well. We moving on to the niche areas. So as Travis was suggesting in his uh, talk, that there are the invoices coming. Different suppliers has different sort of modes, and one solution doesn't fit everyone. So more than likely the enterprises find themselves using OpenText Vim solutions or DMS solutions, this kind of solutions. So we these complementary solutions to core S4HANA or business planning and consolidation add-ons on S4 or a separate BW, EWM, warehouse process management. These are all our niche. We have like ready templates for this. We have model companies created for Indian organization, for other countries as well. We have most of the companies who has multi-country company codes in their S4, how to consolidate the financial reporting. We have some ready-made reports and add-ons built for those kind of services. So there's a lot to talk about, but given that we are constrained with time, I will probably move on. But if any of these areas you sort of have any kind of interest or requirements, do feel free to get in touch, and we'll be happy to provide any further details. Um, then cloud computing services. I think that's the way. So as Gartner says that the way forward for IT organization is to treat our digital core and our innovation core. Digital core being S4 in SAP context, and innovation core being SAP Cloud Platform or SaaS products. Is the strategy I think most of the IT organizations across the globe is adopting, keeping S4 as clean, as standard as possible, so that SAP's new versions can be implemented without any headache. The upgrades will be faster, and that's the approach that we have adopted to as well in terms of our competency and our alignment to the software development. We have a very strong SaaS product implementation team. DSN is today an example. We'll speak about how we implement DSN and what is involved in implementing DSN. But apart from DSN, if customers are involved, are adopting the S4HANA on cloud or Ariba, SuccessFactors, Fieldglass, Concur, these kind of applications, we have all sort of a pre-built demo systems, that certified consultants in all these areas who can come and help get us going as fast as possible. Again, I spoke about the Gartner strategy. The idea is the competition is fierce out there in the marketplace. You want to solve your problems fast. You want to get your innovation done quicker than anybody else. That all without touching the core. So that's where the SAP Cloud Platform sort of comes in picture. That's where our services offerings in Cloud Platform comes in place. The technologies such as machine learning, IoTs, RPAs, all these technologies using Cloud Platform, business rule framework, for example, any custom need that we have which cannot be catered by S4 can be delivered through this Cloud Platform, and we have some exciting products that we have built. If you have use case in this area where it needs a customization to S4, I think I encourage you to explore this option because that's, I think, way to go forward. Moving on to the S4, the service product developments from our product development service portfolio. As I said, we have gained a lot of experience in our industries, and based on our deep understanding of S4 product, um, we have found some edge cases, which essentially always when we customer goes for S4 Ariba or this kind of implementation, they find this every time to be developed as an implementation basis for implementation basis. So what we have is we have pre-built these products, for example, on S4 side, digital signature solution or e-invoicing, e-way bill, and then some customer who has very complex non-standard quotation processes for that non-standard quotes. We have some pre-built add-ons that we have built on S4 and ECC platform. That's where our product build partnership comes into play. Um, Not only on the on S4 side, but on the cloud SaaS product side as well. We have done very exciting product development. We have built extensions to Ariba in terms of flexi forms. I won't go into much details of these products, but any of you who has Ariba or S4 HANA and some edge cases who you would want to develop without disturbing the core S4 and Ariba functionalities, then we could definitely use these products. Um, and then, of course, we have some of the niche areas where we have built sort of a standalone products. For example, we have some customer portal for dealers, management, self-service, dealer self-service. Then we have some bots, although they are not standalone, they are kind of built on SAP Cloud Platform itself. So leveraging the power of Cloud Platform, consuming the cloud services such as IRP services for what Travis mentioned about, scanning of the invoices from the email, automatically pushing that data into S4 to create an invoice, and removing the need of an OCR application potentially. That sort of products that we already have built, leveraging on the power of cloud platform. For some of the utility customers, we have built asset management applications which are mobile based and and also some use cases around street works management systems. A lot to talk about, but I think I'm constrained with time, so I will probably move over to the next. But this is just to give you a glimpse of our services and our offers and our competencies. Um, Last but not the least, the data and analytics area. Um, Having data, accurate data immediately available on a timely manner, who would not like it? And I think I've seen in my experience, we have ERP applications implemented, but data is not given a due attention generally. So when we are embarking on a journey of an S4 transformation, or whether it's a greenfield or brownfield, I think what we have realized is we need to support our customers with data as a focused area, and that's where we have a whole suite of sort of a competency and consultants. I call them a data scientists who are very competent in terms of knowing the data model of SAP applications, competent in terms of using the tools for data transformation, whether it's a cleansing, transformation, or enrichment, and essentially use all this knowledge to help during the transformation programs or migration programs. Um, Last but not the least, Travis mentioned about blockchains, and I think that's the future. Especially, I mean, Rajib will speak about in more details later, but I think the MSME sector, the OEMs, this ecosystem of suppliers and OEMs, I think there is a huge use case for blockchain. Again, data is the core of it. A trusted data, the source of data that needs to be trusted, and to enable any meaningful supply chain ecosystem. And that's where the blockchain, I think, comes in picture. If you are thinking about especially in the COVID sort of pandemic situation, if you are thinking about optimizing your supply chain, digitizing your supply chain, blockchain should be considered. And if you need support in how to questions, then AmDhan is there, and we have expertise demos in these areas where we could come and help as well. Um, Analytics platforms and pre-built analytics, I think we firmly believe as a consulting firm that our lineage is towards SAP platform and SAP Analytics Cloud and BI solutions. What we bring to the table is our industry expertise, our line of business knowledge. our pre-built templates of the data dashboards and analytics. If a CFO is looking for analytics dashboard, um, and the technical tool platform is selected, we will bring to the table our expertise that how typically a CFO dashboard should look like, and we'll start from there. So we will bring some accelerators and a starting point, which will help really add value, the business domain value to the analytics space. So I think that's I think all at this point in the given time I could give you a glimpse of our service offerings. But going back to I think about DSN, which is again a cloud offering which Travis has spoken about. I think he has, and Prem has given a demo. Travis has spoken about the value it adds to yourself as a buying organization. And I would kind of give a bit of a flavor about how easy or what sort of quantum of efforts involved in terms of getting up and running with DSN portal. So this is just a glimpse of a typical implementation. What is needed for DSN to be deployed from thinking and going for it and making a decision to get running with it. It's a matter of 8 to 13 weeks. What we need essentially, it's because DSN is box standard integration. I'm sure Travis will provide more details once if anyone interested in the call in the questions session. But yeah, what is involved? It's switching on some integration on S4 side, out of box integration to S4 or ECC to speak to DSN portal. What we need is it's a procure to pay, like typically we call consultant, some PI consultant to do some mapping changes if we have Z fields and those kind of things to deal with. And of course, some ad hoc basis support, ABAP support, and of course, product management. The key part which I will call out is the supplier onboarding. So as the CIOs, the head of supply chain, head of procurement, I think when going for such a collaborative portal like DSN, the key part is to come up with a strategy, the enablement strategy. How do we get these suppliers onboarded? We need to train them. We need to think which 20% of supplier with the 80% of volume we should get them. Have to have a onboarding strategy laid down, and that's where we will also come in and help you. But then we could have an onboarding coordinator who would be responsible for strategy, formulation, training, etc. That can come in picture. And last but not least, just to give you a flavor of this 8 to 13 weeks period, depending on your need, could be. I mean, you need what we have mentioned here is just light, basic, and standard deployment segments or sort of layers. Light deployment is basically just activating dispatching the POs to the supplier. That's very light. We can get up and running in 8 weeks, for example. The basic probably adding few more functionalities, getting suppliers to confirm the POs and schedule and submit the shipping notices. That's the basic variant of it, and standard is basically include the invoices on top of it. But all this in 8 to 13 weeks is what we are proposing. So it's a very quick enablement if possible due to the way the DSN and S4 integration is designed and developed. So that's all from my side. Happy to take some questions in the question answer session. But over to you, Aishwarya.
Thank you, Amit. It was an insightful and informative information about DSN and a quick introduction to AmDhan. Thank you. So with this, we will run our second poll. If we can have a second poll for the webinar. Yeah, great. So as you can see on the screen, this is related to Supplier Portal. A quick view of all the attendees. What do you think? Are you currently using any Supplier Portal? So a very quick one and a very easy one for everyone to answer. This will again be very helpful information for us. Request all the attendees to give and submit their answers. So I am just assuming everyone can see the poll question on the screen, and we will give a couple of seconds more for this poll, as the question is too short and the options are way too small. Uh, I hope by this time everyone has submitted their answers. Can we have the poll results, please? Okay, so all the audience which we have with us, 23% of them are already on supplier portal, and 77% have the answer as no. Okay, again, this is something which the panelists can discuss, have a quick discussion on. Since we just have very few time left, I'll take some of the questions which are with us already for the panelists. So first question which we have has been asked by Abhishek. How DSN can help transform MSME sector in industries like auto, pharma, life science, manufacturing, CPG, and retail? So I feel Rajib would be the best person to answer this question. Rajib?
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you very much, Aishwarya. Thank you for giving this question to me. Good afternoon to all attendees, panelists, and the speakers. It was very amazing to hear what is the potential that DSN is having. Answering your question, Aishwarya, I said DSN is the first of its kind created for MSMEs, keeping the affordability aspect. Affordability is the key to adoption in any industry, especially for MSMEs. The adoption will onset a series of transformation in the industry. How? This is a cloud-hosted platform from SAP that allows the customers and buyers and suppliers to collaborate for their supply chain related transactions. Typical MSMEs are tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers in any industry, be it automotive, pharma, CPG, or retail. In DSN platform, the buyer onboards the supplier for collaboration. Right now, the scope in DSN is to collaborate touchpoints like PO, invoice, e-invoice, ASN, and GRN. However, this can enlarge in the future to cover all aspects of supply chain, right from the outbound of suppliers to bill passing at customers. I'm touching all the points. The touch points can be enhanced for auto validations, auto data capturing, and auto bill passing digitally, to name a significant few. It takes innovative passions in the industry to digitize the entire supply chain touchpoints. This will unlock a huge energy lying in the industry, currently getting wasted in form of manual transactions and validations. Our MSMEs are currently contributing only 8 to 10% for our GDP, though they employ huge manpower, giving jobs to around 80 million people. However, a lot of manpower in that sector is getting wasted in form of manual operations, giving rise to poor efficiencies, poor quality of transactions, and poor speed of delivery, thereby disrupting productions pretty often. Therefore, a lot of touchpoints supply chains are in dire need for automation and validations, right from pure creation till bill passing, across the board, covering multiple suppliers, third-party logistic firms, transporters, and OEMs. GRNs are not happening in time, the rejections are not known in time, the PO amendments are not online, resulting in poor funds collections, delayed payments, non-visibility of inventory or debits, credits, or isn't thereof. All these causes huge pains to the suppliers. And if you would like to improve, we have to automate. Can we automate get in, get out, quantity unloading, GRN, GST, submission, bill passing, etc.? Yes. DSN onsets this digital transformation in supply chain for industry once the adoption begins. Thank you, Vasudha.
Thank you, Rajib. So the next question which we have is from Lalit. What is the difference between Ariba sourcing and DSN? Travis?
Yeah, so I just answered it on the typing chat, but also for the rest of the folks as well. When we think about SAP Ariba, there's many different modules that you can implement to better enhance your supply chain. So sourcing, you can be looking at how do we collaborate with our suppliers through auctions, and how do we possibly discover brand new suppliers so we can diversify our supplier portal. Whereas DSN is going to take it to the next step. So once we've found that supplier, once we've gone through the RFX, once we've gone through all that due diligence, once we've done the supplier management piece of it, we can take it to the next step, which is issuing their purchase order, and then starting to have the collaborative documents that are associated with that, taking it to the invoice, and then to Rajib's point, taking it to an on-time payment and being able to provide that visibility. So that's it. They're just different modules. That was a really long way of saying that.
Would you like to throw some light on licensing structure for SAP Ariba DSN?
The licensing structure, yeah. So when we're looking at the licensing structure for the digital supplier network, we're talking about having unlimited suppliers, unlimited users, and being able to integrate directly into the ERP through the native fashion, which we call Cloud Integration Gateway. And it's all based off of just one ACV effectively. So there's no upcharge for having additional users because we're going to have unlimited suppliers that we can bring on. There is a threshold of the amount of documents that can come across before you need to upgrade. And that is 200,000 documents, or what I believe is 2 lakh. I think I got that right. I'm not completely up on my my denominations in that, but 2 lakh documents, that is a threshold for that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Travis. So we still have a couple of more questions, but since the time which we have, I would like to answer those in person to them. So before we could wrap up this session, anything anyone wants to say? Travis, Amit, Rajib, anyone?
No, thank you for
Thank you
your
very
time
much.
today. I think that was really interesting inputs from our panelists, and thanks for your time from all the attendees.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. Thank you again for joining us today. I'll be sharing the recording, the link for this webinar with all the attendees, and we'll see you next time. Till then, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good
Thanks,
day.
everybody.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.